Welcome to a brand new episode, Back Pass with Russ. We're back again with a new episode, and it's been a long time since we did a club feature. And this one has been long in the waiting. It's been long in the wings. We've been scouring the earth, so to speak, to look for Barcelona fans. You know, amazingly, in this part of the world, you see a lot of Barcelona jerseys, but you don't get an actual Barcelona fan, especially one that we are talking about. In this era, we're talking about Rijkaard's Barcelona. So a fan that has been a fan from just before this period. Difficult to find, but nevertheless, we always have our Spanish football expert is on the show to give us a hand. And it's none other than Mr. Antonio Codinach. A pleasure to have you on the show once again, Antonio.
Hi,
Thanks
Russ.
for taking time.
No, thank you very much for having me, and hello to everybody, regardless when and where you are watching or listening to this show today.
Yes, so Antonio, we're going to talk about Barcelona under Frank Rijkaard. First of all,
Yeah.
do you know Frank Rijkaard's actual name is Franklin Rijkaard? I just found that out a few days ago.
Okay, good on him. Most important, good on you. If we have time, I might share a gossip about Rijkaard's family member.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah,
I think
right.
that is something interesting.
Yes,
Okay, Antonio, we spoke
write it
about,
down, and so you can remember.
yeah, I will.
Yeah.
Antonio, we spoke about Barcelona's dream team under Johan Cruyff.
Yes.
So in that period, so let's bridge the gap a bit between that period and now this one that we're going to speak about now. So since then, you've had, after Johan Cruyff, I believe the late Sir Bobby Robson took over.
Correct.
He had a bit of would you say a bit of an indifferent spell? And then,
I mean, it was tricky. It was tricky because mostly not a lot of people knew Bobby Robson, and actually one of the main reasons why he joined Barcelona is because he was very close with the former president Núñez, and he always had the issue of perhaps, I'm not going to say not connecting to Barcelona fan base, but the language was an issue, and I'm sure we might have chance to talk maybe a little bit about that. But don't forget that Robson joined Barcelona with Mourinho, and that was pretty much where the figure of Mourinho started to be created. But it was maybe a little bit, indifferent. It is true that Robson came from to Barcelona with a very good background from, if I'm not recall wrongly, PSV in Holland. So something that people were not expecting, and maybe coming back to maybe the previous time before Johan Cruyff, with Terry Venables was FC Barcelona manager, and he brought in some good English players like Lineker and Mark Hughes.
Yeah, correct. So once Robson period was over, I think was Louis van Gaal in.
Yes.
After that, then Louis van Gaal had a bit of a successful period, and also coincidentally leading up to this episode, Louis van Gaal's 1998-99 La Liga title would be the last ever, not just La Liga title, but just last ever trophy Barcelona won in the 90s and for a very long time.
Yeah.
So in this period, between that 1998-99 La Liga title that he won and the point where they appointed Frank Rijkaard as their manager, what was Barcelona like in this period of time? Because I remember they had many good players in that team, but to underperform to this extent.
Well, I mean, we don't. I mean, we can't forget the idea and the concept that, and we brought this several times to the show, which is very, very difficult, almost impossible to make the transition of a winning team. And we gave the examples of the Spanish national team. We make the example in 2000 plus when Guardiola Pep left FC Barcelona, right? So we are here also considering that Barcelona a few years ago, pretty much with Johan Cruyff changing history of football, 92 European champions, and so on. And then that transition to a potential future winning team was hard. And before Rijkaard joined, I do remember that there was a transition with some managers. We mentioned a few of them with Bobby Robson, Van Gaal, but I remember also. I don't know if you remember Lorenzo Serra Ferrer, who is a
Yeah.
Mallorcan. Then he was a little bit later at Betis. We are talking also Radomir Antic, who
Yeah.
unfortunately passed away a few years ago, and also even Charlie Reixach, which is a former Barcelona legend, a player from La Masia, from the School of Football. So it was tough because I think Barcelona was towards the end of an era, meaning not only all these managers went in with some good players. By the way, you mentioned
Yeah.
that point, and I remember Rivaldo was there,
Mm.
and we had Luis Enrique, Kluivert, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
This is the time also that Barcelona lost Luis Figo to Real Madrid
Yeah.
around the late 90s, and I think that was psychologically something very, very difficult to digest. And then not only those names as managers that we mentioned, but also don't forget that that is when the longest president ever, Josep Lluís Núñez, left presidency, and is when the first round of current president Laporta appear, as he won in the elections, if I'm not wrong, around 2000 and can't remember if it
2002.
was 2002. Yes, because by then, when Núñez exit, it was by Vice President Gaspar, who always used to be the financial chief, the one
Ah,
who took control of the club. So if we really pay attention, it's we mention a few names, managers that are relevant, some others not, and it's very difficult. Why? Because you cannot set a direction, and when you don't have a direction in terms of the style you want to play, what sort of players you need, and so on. And we forgot a key player that played with Bobby Robson because he brought him from Holland, which is Ronaldo Nazario.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So it is true that those were a bit of like dark years until Rijkaard joined. And to be honest, if I'm not wrong, uh, there was a little bit of not controversy, but people were not super convinced. I think Rijkaard joined Barcelona because at the end, there will always be a connection between FC Barcelona and anything related to Holland or the Netherlands, in particular, because of Johan Cruyff, and then Van Gaal and Nexens, and then Rijkaard appear, and then I'm sure we will talk about that.
Yeah. So Laporta was appointed in 2001.
Correct?
And in this period, I got to talk about this period as well when
Yeah,
Barcelona didn't win anything. In this
yeah.
period of time, I feel it was quite a diverse period in La Liga as well because Deportivo La Coruña came up. They were champions of Spain. Valencia was champions of Spain as well. Real
Yes,
Madrid,
it was.
Real
Yeah,
Madrid
yeah,
also
yeah,
were champions, but that's like a norm, Real Madrid,
yeah.
Barcelona, but other teams came up.
Well,
So it was
once in a
quite an
while,
exciting
yeah.
period.
As you know, once in a while in La Liga, there will always be like I don't want to call an underdog or a dark horse, but it's always like a team. And I mean, thanks, thanks to the current times, we have now Atletico de Madrid, who is pretty much up there every year. But you were correct that those were the years where teams like Deportivo La Coruña, which by the way is now in the second division,
Mm.
and Valencia, not a lot of people remember this, but they reached the Champions League's final twice in
Yeah,
a row.
yeah.
Yeah, and one they lost with Real Madrid, and the other one with
Bayern.
Bayern de Munich. But it is true that there were some, funky, dodgy, grayish times for La Liga before the golden years have to arrive with the superstars. But well, I think it was positive for FC Barcelona because Rijkaard at the end was, I do believe that it was a good manager that, as you mentioned at the beginning, unfortunately people don't remember a lot because of who was the successor. But if you ask anybody, they will say that the times with Rijkaard were really like a solid foundation for Barcelona. So Pep could really take the team and excel and do what pretty much nobody else has done before.
Yeah, that's the whole point of having this episode as well, is just to remind
Yeah,
people what Rijkaard did. So at that point, I think you've already hinted at it, that it was a bit of a surprise when Rijkaard was announced as Barcelona's coach, head
yeah,
coach.
uh-huh.
But you did mention the link with Holland, but Rijkaard actually came into Barcelona pretty much inexperienced. I remember he was the
Yeah,
Holland
yeah,
man at Euro 2000.
yeah.
This was about 3 years after when he
Hmm.
became the Barcelona manager. So he came in completely a bit inexperienced. Of course, I think he had a great reputation. I think Barcelona fans probably will remember him as a player,
Hmm.
the great AC Milan teams and
Yeah, no,
Ajax.
no. Yeah, yeah, no, no, totally. But when I say the connection with Holland slash the Netherlands is because most probably they thought when they signed him that he could apply some of those principles of football that they are so connected to the history of Barcelona. And don't forget that under Rijkaard there were quite a nice pool of good and talented players, right? I mean, come on, we all know football belongs to the footballers. I mean, the manager is important, but at the end, if you have good players, nine out of 10 times you will play good football. And I still remember some winter transfer windows. I remember clearly because that was pretty much a turning point when Barcelona signed Edgar Davis in the winter market under Rijkaard, and it was really like a big difference because he was really like looking for somebody at the midfield with defensive skills and so on. But that team of Rijkaard initially with Deco, Ronaldinho, we have Julie, the French guy, Henrik Larsson at the beginning, the striker, and then of course that initial part of the golden generation with of Barcelona with Puyol and Valdés and Xavi, Iniesta, and so on. Later on, of course, Pep arrived in 2008 and then elevated that squad, clean up those bad apples, and we can talk maybe a little bit on that, even though that's not the main point, and then elevated the team. But again, I want to emphasize this because I think it's important. If you ask 9 out of 10 FC Barcelona supporters, they will tell you that Pep was able to do what he did because he already had some sort of like a solid foundation with what Frank Rijkaard did.
Mm. Okay. And
Yeah.
I think Manchester United fans will remember this very well. Frank Rijkaard's first season, Ronaldinho, which was seemed on the verge of joining Manchester United, went and joined Barcelona, broke a lot of United fan hearts. But
Mm.
I mean, for United fans, they got Cristiano Ronaldo instead. So not a bad trade in the end. But
I I remember that summer because by then within the Laporta president team, his right hand side was this guy who came from Nike International. I think he was the head of Nike Global Marketing, not global marketing in Latin America. His name is Sandro Rosell. He later on went and became president of Barcelona, but he is the one who had the personal relationship with Ronaldinho, being Ronaldinho a Nike player, and he is the one in charge of bringing Ronaldinho to FC Barcelona. And don't forget that Ronaldinho arrived at Barcelona when Laporta, a few weeks, months before, announced that he had an agreement with David Beckham.
Yeah, David Beckham. Yes, yes.
Yeah. So instead of Beckham, Ronaldinho appeared. The first game that Ronaldinho played at the old FC Barcelona stadium, it was the John Gamper, their summer tournament, and he scored an amazing goal against AC Milan from like outside the box, like 30, 40 meters away. Unbelievable after dribbling. I can't remember how many players. And why do I say this? Is because Barcelona fan base, this, I mean, what happened that night was exactly what they were missing. Barcelona historically has been a very, very, I mean, football is very passionate, but Barcelona fans are extremely passionate and they really need that figure. Look back in years. They had Cruyff, they had Maradona, they had many other good superstars, and now with Ronaldinho in the time frame that we are talking about, they had the star and that person that could bring, uh, sparks and light and some sort of like hope, because the years before were uh, were not very good.
Yeah. And now the first season Rijkaard had in Barcelona wasn't
Mm-hmm.
very successful. They still didn't win any trophy. They finished second in La Liga. But this
Mm-hmm.
is a very important point because unlike probably English football, Spanish
Yeah.
football, football in Europe generally, and the big clubs, Spanish in Spain and Italy and Germany, the
Mm-hmm.
chairmen are very impatient. If you don't
Yeah.
win something, you might be out of the job. But he kept his job. And I
Mm-hmm.
think how crucial was that? Because then he went on to win the La Liga the season after.
Look, at the end, we say that football I mean, it belongs to the footballers, but like it or not, the power relies on the president and relies on that ball entering the goal or not. So they were patient enough, because it's strange for a manager at Barcelona or Real Madrid historically that they don't win any trophy, to keep their seat. But perhaps it was an internal decision. I can't remember where Barcelona was in terms of finance. Most probably not as bad as they are right now, but maybe no chance. Maybe they just wanted to, you know, giving a chance to Rijkaard and giving a little bit of patience. And I don't know, maybe they had a chat with the players. I mean, it is true that around the corner, it was a little Argentinian about to appear and change the history of football, and that is pretty much what happened in the next season, as you mentioned.
Yeah. So 2004 and 5, finally Barcelona win the La Liga.
Hmm.
That's the only trophy they won, but notable signings they made. They signed Samuel Eto'o
Yeah.
as a big player for them. Um, this season, because this is like a breakthrough season for Rijkaard and for Barcelona. Finally, they win something after a long time. Um, what what do you make about Rijkaard first of all as a manager? Was he a master tactician or was he just a great man manager?
Look, I always say that a good manager is somebody who can improve the players, and they can give you a good set of players, but if you don't make them better, uh, I that's my personal opinion. You cannot prove that you are a good manager. Go back 6 weeks ago with the Spain national team in the Euro, right? I could give you a handful of players that they did a good season with the clubs. They go with the national team. They play under Luis de la Fuente, and the guy makes them better, and we excel. Period. And I think Rijkaard did that with with some players. Number one, so I think he's a very chill and calm and patient. guy. Master tactician, I I don't think so. I think he's more of like a man manager and a club's man, somebody who, most probably Laporta say, look, you know, we have seen, we want to give you the experience. This is, a set of players you're gonna be available. Let's see what you can do. But I don't recall, and correct me if I'm wrong, any decision, you know, that it changed like, oh wow, we were not expecting this is not about like, oh, Pep decided that Messi was going to play as a false or fake striker, or Pep is the one who took that right wing and put him as a right back, and all these things. I could give you more examples, good or bad, but I don't remember that from Rijkaard. I think it was more of like a man manager, somebody who was close to the player, who will talk to them, listen to them, and understand what they wanted, and most important, give them the trust so they could perform.
Mm. Okay. And then the season after was another step forward because that's the season that they won the La Liga. They were European champions as well.
Yeah,
They won the Super Copa España. But
yeah.
so 3 trophies in a year. That is bringing Barcelona up to another level. So going better than the previous season.
Yes, and proving Laporta that that decision of keeping Rijkaard after the first year with nothing, it was the correct one. And I think, I mean, we need to be very straightforward, right? At the end, FC Barcelona, like it or not, their main competitor is not Man U, is not Manchester City, is not PSG, is Real Madrid,
Yeah.
and they will always compare, or we will always compare both teams. And at the end, uh, we look at Champions Leagues, and for Barcelona to be able to win it again after so long, it was very, very, very important. And as I say, maybe a little bit of like a breakthrough point on setting the foundations with the team to prepare what the future will come.
Yeah, that was okay. Going to that Champions League as well, that season
Yes, yes, yes.
2006.
Hmm.
Going into it, would you say Barcelona were one of the favorites, or did it just grow as they went further and further in the tournament? It
I
was
don't. I
14
don't.
years after their last title, though. So the
Yes.
first was in 92. So
Yeah.
2006 was 14 years after.
Yeah. I don't recall them being the favorites because, to be honest, uh, when a team has been so long without being successful in their main competition, right? Sure, you talk to FC Barcelona teams and they will tell you, "Oh, for us it's La Liga." Well, no, La Liga, no, La Liga is important, but I think that UEFA Champions League is what gives you that pedigree, that extra edge. So for a
Mm.
team that uh, uh, they did not succeed in that trophy, it's always a big achievement. And I think it's important. I think it's important that Rijkaard was able to convince the players that they could do that and provide with, as I say, the confidence and the trust, and be successful. Because at the end, I don't recall much about that year, but I remember clearly. I think the final was in Paris against
Yes.
Arsenal.
Yes.
Yeah, and I remember that the first goal of Barcelona was by Samuel Eto'o, and then Arsenal equalized, and then I think scored Belletti, if I'm not wrong.
Yes.
And
Arsenal had the
so,
men sent off as well.
yes, 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 and yes, exactly. They were playing with just 10 players. So look, I don't think main favorites, but as always, It's like if I ask you now, who's going to be the main favorites for next year Champions League? You're going to tell me FC Barcelona, Man City, PSG, Real Madrid. Those 4 or 5 are always there because they always try to, to get it.
Yeah. And what worked well for Rijkaard in this period of time?
No, I think what I mentioned before, I think he was able to build a group despite having uh, a lot of superstars. And I'm not considering Messi because Messi was pretty much just
Yeah.
just starting. Yeah, but Ronaldinho was, of course, the superstars. But he had Deco. He had, as I mentioned before, I think some of the Spaniards as well. Eto'o, who was a little bit of a surprise because, as you know, Eto'o was formed in the School of Football of Real Madrid. So all of these things created a little bit of controversy. But overall, what it went well is that he was able to form a team and build a good relationship with most of the players. Well, to the point, and I'm gonna go into the gossip now, that
Yes.
Ronaldinho ended up having a relationship with Rijkaard's daughter.
Oh,
Yeah,
during
first
the
during
Barcelona.
that, during while he was in Barcelona. So and pretty much everybody knows that, and it's public. So I think, yeah, he was able to just blend and bond everybody. And at the end, Ras, just look back in history. All the winning teams, their number one characteristic is that they are just teams. They are just a nice group of people who like pretty much each other, and of course, they are good. They are good footballers.
Mm. And then the season after, the
Yeah,
wheels start coming off because they finished second in the league. The only trophy they won
semifinals, right? I think
they
they reached semifinals in
no,
Champions and Copa
not
del
yet.
Rey. No,
They reached the round of 16 of the Champions League.
okay.
They were runners-up in the Club World Cup, in
Mm-hmm.
the UEFA Super Cup. The only
Yeah,
trophy they won was the Super Copa de España.
yeah,
So
but that doesn't count. Oh yeah, I remember that in the UEFA Champions League they were knocked out by Liverpool in the round of 16.
yeah, so the
Yeah,
wheels were starting to fall off. And then the season after is the one where they lost in the semi-finals to Manchester United.
correct.
Reached the semi-final of Copa del Rey. La
Yeah,
Liga, they finished even worse in third position.
yeah.
So things were not going good now for Barcelona. What happened here? No, that led to
Well,
this moment.
most probably I mean, as we say, right? That transition, you win you win the Champions League. Uh, it's difficult. It's difficult to bring back all the players that have won something, and okay, guys, we need to. Our goal is to repeat this, and I have to say that for as much as Rijkaard was a men's club and somebody who was able to create a good bond, I don't think his personality was very strong. I'm not gonna say he was not a leader, but I think he didn't have that solid character to call for discipline. And I think a few episodes of indiscipline happened, and it was difficult to manage. And of course, I'm referring to some of the days where maybe Ronaldinho was late for training. And I know that. Why do I say this? Is because uh, the first thing that Pep did the year later, when Laporta didn't have more patience with Rijkaard, the first thing that Pep told Laporta was to Ronaldinho and Deco must go.
Mm.
And Pep was able to clean the changing room from, call them, bad apples or people with negative influence, in particular to new players, but most important, influence for the young talent that Pep was supporting to bring. So I think to answer your initial question was a little bit of like he Rijkaard was not a very strong personality
Personality.
base, yeah, manager.
Okay. And out of all the, you spoke about Deco and Ronaldinho being
Hmm.
so-called bad apples in the dressing room. Samuel
Hmm.
Eto'o was also one of the names.
For me,
What,
one of the
what's the issue with Samuel Eto'o?
no, I think Pep kept them. I mean, Samuel Eto'o is an extremely temperamental player. I remember clearly an episode when he used to play for Real Mallorca under the management of Luis Aragonés, former Spanish national team manager, where Luis Aragonés subbed him, and the guy went to the got out of the pitch and started kicking some water bottles, and then he sat on the bench, and then it was shouting, and then Luis Aragonés turned around and he pretty much like grabbed him by the chest and it's like, make sure this is the last time you do this to me, blah blah blah. So Eto has been always somebody with very strong character, and somebody to have somebody like you can have one of those in the changing room, but not for too long. You
Mm.
cannot have too many of these very polarized characters, and then if you mix, think about it, Eto with the character, and Deco and Ronaldinho, which uh, they were very well known because the amount of hours in Barcelona nightclubs. So you can you can imagine. So yeah, and don't forget that Barcelona was in the middle of building some sort of like a very young squad. So you cannot have those guys influencing the youngsters, and I think Pep was very clear and say you and you go out. I think he kept Eto'o one more year, but that was
Yeah,
it because later on, if I'm not mistaken, he brought in Ibrahimovic.
yeah, correct.
Ibrahimovic,
In
right?
exchange for Eto'o,
Correct.
worked out well for Inter to have
Yes,
Eto'o.
exactly, and not so much for Barcelona because, as you know,
Yeah,
the relationship. He tried to change egos, and he tried to change the ego of Samuel Eto'o with Ibra, and I think at the end Ibra was worse for Pep than what
yeah,
Samuel Eto'o was for him.
yeah, true. All
Yeah.
right. So in this period, of course, we talk about all these stars. They produce some great football on the pitch,
Mm.
individually and as a team as well.
Hmm.
Who are the underrated players in this Barcelona teams under Frank Rijkaard?
Very good question. I don't know. I mentioned before Davies, and Davies was there for a while, and I think he was pretty much.
He was
I
there
will
at the
give.
start, 2003, 2004.
Yes. I mean, no, it's not underrated, but I mean, I like him. I like also Julie. The youngsters were good, you know. Puyol for me has been somebody that I'm not gonna say has been underrated, but somebody that has been so important for FC
Solid,
Barcelona.
solid as well, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's a bit of like a, one of those superheroes without a cape, and somebody who understands the club, has been raised in the the Barcelona School of Football, have never had uh, a bad attitude. All his behavior. I remember him pretty much correcting players while celebrating goals.
Yeah,
And I think, I mean, not that he was underrated, but maybe he has not had the media that he deserves. And for me, is the best centre back that Barcelona has ever had, if
yeah,
not together also the best Spanish, one of the top three Spanish centre backs.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
You had other players like what you made about players like Giuliano Valletti. There's this other guy called Ole Gua that is not spoken about much. I hear he actually decline a Spanish call up.
Okay. I know who you're talking. You're talking about Oleguer Presas.
Yes, the left back.
Yeah. And is a special character. He played also for Barcelona, but because he doesn't feel Spanish, he feels Catalan. He rejected to play for the national team. I think he played once, and then he rejected any future calls. But no, nothing much to say besides he was a decent defender. Belletti overall uh, provided a very good, I would say, if you allow me to use a business term, a return on investment. And he had experience of Celta de Vigo in Spain, if I'm not wrong. So it could go into that list of underrated players that they were important
Villarreal. He was
for
at
the success.
Villarreal before
Yeah,
Barcelona.
Villarreal. Okay. But I think also I can't remember now if it's Belletti or Silvinho later, because I know Silvinho now manages a national team, but I can't remember which one it is.
Albania.
Exactly, that's the one that we play in the Euro. Correct. You're correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this guy, Xavi, Xavi actually has been here before this
Yes.
period. So he was in a transitional period under Louis van Gaal. Then he came to this brilliant Barcelona team as well.
Do we know who is this guy or no? Do we know him?
Yeah, Xavi. So
Yeah.
what role did he play in this Barcelona team? And I'm sure he would have gained a lot of experience learning the goods and the bads from this period, this long period he had.
Xavi, Xavi is for Barcelona what maybe Raúl has been for
Yeah.
Real Madrid, or what Iniesta has been for the national team, and of course also for Barcelona. Somebody from born 35 kilometers away from Barcelona, raised in Barcelona School of Football, understands the club, understands the media, understands the surroundings, understands everything, and has always played, regardless he was playing with FC Barcelona or the national team, the role of all the managers says that you always need a Xavi in your team because he's pretty much our manager on the pitch. And one of the reasons why everybody likes Xavi so much at FC Barcelona is because of what you say, which is that he has gone through bad, very bad, okay times, good and very good times, and he always been there. He always been performing. He was injured, but always an excellent player. I would definitely place him, if not the best, center midfielder, one of the top tres in the history of Spanish football. The tandem with Iniesta in Barcelona and in the national team, we will never have two little players like them. Even though now I'm pretty glad with Rodri and Fabian in the national team after what we saw in the Euros.
Okay, let's jog your memory back. At this period of time, were you already in Singapore and working as a pundit?
We are talking about 2006. Yes, but no working as a pundit yet. I started in 2008.
2008. So just after this period then.
Yes, this is about pretty much when I arrived first time here in October 2003. So that's pretty much, So that's pretty much maybe the first 2 years.
Okay, so then an interesting question for you. When you came here 2003, you must have wanted to watch some La Liga football and all. How was it finding sources to watch La Liga football in Singapore?
No, I think it was okay, of course. Well, no, let me say, by then, pretty much the only games that they were available were the Clásicos. Like Real Madrid, Barcelona, or Barcelona, Real Madrid, regardless. And they were only broadcast or the time of the game was always like 3 a.m. in the
Yeah.
morning or 4 a.m. in the morning, because that approach to Asian markets have not started yet. All of those only happen under the management of Javier Tebas in La Liga, and then the fantastic team that they have everywhere, that they have brought the Liga closer to those of us that we live overseas. But I remember going chimes, and also most important, maybe just going to a friend's house and watch the game. But not always, because as you know, it was not. They were not my teams. I've done it,
Yeah.
and I used to do it. Like I remember watching, of course, the Euro 2008, and the World Cup and the Euros 2012 live somewhere in chimes and so on. The
Yeah.
World Cup, I remember clearly watching it in chimes, and it was fantastic. The atmosphere was great. There were maybe, I don't know, 15% Spanish and 85% Dutch.
Mm.
So yeah.
All right. I also want to get your views on this because
Yeah.
at the start of the show I mentioned that we see a lot of Barcelona jerseys on the streets, people
Hmm.
wearing Barcelona jerseys. But are these people, from your experience, are these people more Messi fans or fans of Barcelona?
Well, that's a very good question. It's been already 3, 4 years. He did 2 years at PSG, and now he's on the way to 2 years at Inter de Miami. So we're talking about 4 years. 4 years of Messi fans wearing FC Barcelona jersey. I see it a little bit difficult. I think it's more of people who might understand Barcelona history, style of football. I mean, there is not a single day that passes in Singapore that I bump into somebody and say, "Oh, I went to Barcelona this summer," or "I went to Barcelona my last summer break." Like, I just went back to school last week, and I think 3 or 4 faculty members have been to Barcelona. So definitely Barcelona has something that people in this part of the world feel attracted, and it could be the weather, could be the food, could be the culture, could be whatever that is. And I'm talking about Barcelona. I
Mm.
know when they travel to Spain, they not only go to Barcelona, they go Madrid, they go other places.
Yeah.
The jerseys, sure, and I think it's more maybe a wish that they want FC Barcelona to do better. I'm not an FC Barcelona fan, as you know, but I
Mhm.
do want them to do better. I want them to challenge Real Madrid better at La Liga. I want them to challenge, uh, you know, any other team in the Champions League, because I just like football, and I hope they go back to those times where it was an absolute joy to watch them. The only challenge is that everybody needs to understand that it is technically impossible to have and to watch the same quality of football that Barcelona under Pep perform. And I think if Barcelona fans admit that and assume that, they will look for different things that they will make them happy, and hopefully they can bring results. One last example: our national team in this last Euro stopped playing the windshield, and it
Mhm.
was more straightforward and more attack. Yes, it is true that for a long time we never had two bullets in the wings like we do have right now. So that's another thing. You know, you have to play based on the players uh, that you have. And I do believe, I have a feeling that this year we're going to see a different Barcelona under the management of
I see.
Hansi Flick. I'm if I was a Barcelona supporter, I will be hopeful that I'm gonna see a decent team.
And what do you think the expectations are around Barcelona this season?
They for as much as they might say, oh, first year of Flick, blah blah blah. At the end, you know, they are forced. These teams, when was the last time Man? Yeah, they need to win. They need to win, and they need to win trophies. And when was the last time Man City end the season with nothing? When was the last time PSG end with nothing? Barcelona cannot be a second season in a row without anything, and I can guarantee you, Flick knows that very very clear.
Mm. And what can we expect from Barcelona this season? Do you think it'll be similar to how Spain played in the Euros, or
Well,
Germans have their own Gegen pressing system going on? Would
uh,
you
I,
think that?
I remember watching Bayern under Flick, and they play really good football.
Yeah.
Uh, they just signed Dani Olmo because
Mm.
Williams is not coming. Uh, Olmo is a really good player. He's way more versatile than Williams, and I do believe that is a decision of Deco, sports director, with Flick. Um, they have the best player in the world right now at 16 years of age. Right now, I'm talking about today, 12th of August. Uh, and at least they have the tools and the excitement to try to shadow a little bit the amazing squad that Real Madrid is putting together.
Mm.
Don't forget that Real Madrid has signed Mbappe, because after the after the Euro, and Lamine Yamal being such a superstar nowadays, people is forgetting about a little bit about Kylian Mbappe, and that guy is a monster. Like, that guy is an amazing player.
Mm.
So expectations, I think, just FC Barcelona supporters, they just want to see the team compete and challenge and play good football. But at the end, they want to win. That's
Every big club would want to do that as well.
Yeah, but in the
Give their love
Barcelona,
country.
you need to
Yeah.
add the essence of, we need to play beautiful. I don't know, man. I don't know if at the end, what you want is you want to win. Real Madrid has won so much, in particular Champions Leagues. Have they played beautifully recently? No, not really. But they win. But because it's their mentality is out of the world. They never give up, and it's in their DNA.
Mm. And you mentioned a name there, quite interesting. Deco, he's back at the club as a sporting director from being being classified as a bad apple. That's quite a
Correct.
turnaround.
Well, extremely
Maturity, I
good.
guess.
Well, maturity, and also a very good friend of Laporta, by the way. So
Okay.
very, very close friend of Laporta, together with some of the people who are ruling the club. They are very close to him, and which is a little bit of a controversy, because part of the opposition doesn't doesn't like those appointments, those finger appointments, like, oh, you are my friend, you can work for the club. The biggest opposition group is pretty much claiming that Barcelona uh, is having all these financial issues because it doesn't have professional structures within the club.
Yeah. And on that note as well, what's the financial state of Barcelona now?
Well, the latest that I read the other day is that they are just waiting for pretty much the final approval from La Liga in terms of how much money they can spend. But I know they were waiting for some. They sold some assets recently in order to be able to match the financial statements. It's tough. It's tough. Barcelona is in a tough financial situation, which uh, I don't know how they're gonna clear, because I think their overall debt goes to goes to above 1 billion, um, 1 billion euros. So I don't know.
See
They're gonna.
Barcelona becoming a selling club now, where they have got to sell Yamal, they got to sell Pedri,
Nah,
Gavi,
I
these
mean
guys.
they made a. I mean, I do believe no Yamal, no Pedri, no Gabi, no Fermin, no Kubarsi, but pretty much the rest. If Man United come with 100 million euros for Araujo, off you go.
Hmm. Okay.
If yeah, so look, at the end, it's he irreplaceable? No, then he can go. But the rest, I think the rest is Barca DNA, is young talents, is it's everything that Barcelona had always have, which is have that mix of young talent from the school of football um, plus some superstars.
Yeah. But those young talents are the ones that are most coveted around the world. So those are the ones probably that would fetch the highest transfer fees for Barcelona. So
Yeah, but if
see a day like that,
Laporta sells tomorrow Lamine Yamal for 250 million euros to PSG, he cannot go to the stadium.
no.
No,
Okay.
no, it's impossible.
Okay.
No way. No, no way. No way, because I don't think, for as much as it is in an awful financial situation, I don't think I mean, it's bad, but if to keep, yeah, I mean, to keep Lamine Yamal means that they're gonna be, I don't know, 2 more years without just only La Copa del Rey. I think they are ready, because I mean that guy. I think the future of Barcelona must spin around Lamine Yamal and maybe a few other players. What he has proved already at international level, it's
Mm.
pretty remarkable.
Okay. And
Yeah.
for yourself as an Espanyol fan, what are you looking forward to for this upcoming season?
Look, I was chit-chatting with my 18-year-old who is here from visiting from Spain, and I just told him I will I would sign to be to end La Liga in 17th position today.
Mm.
It's going to be a tough year for us. We are hiring a few players. I don't know a single one. I don't know any names. Some of them are coming on loan. Some of them we are paying very little. It was beautiful to promote to La Liga, and I'm extremely happy. And that's where, because I think my team deserves to play. But the way the club has been performing, the way the club is structured, and how competitive La Liga is, I'm not super confident that it's going to be a great year for us.
And as an Espanyol fan, you've seen years of Barcelona dominating and doing well. How does it feel for you?
Terrible, feels bad. It's a disaster. It's like if Juventus wins the Scudetto 10 years in a row, what would you do?
Yeah.
It's the
We've
same.
seen that. We've seen that.
Yeah, you've seen that. But I mean, but I don't know. But I do believe that when we are able to enjoy success, we value it. We value it more. And I remember where in the early 2000s we reached a couple of UEFA Europa League finals, and we won a couple of Copa del Rey's, and I think that I'm not going to say that Espanyol should do that every other day, but I mean every other year. But I think we should sit comfortable in the top 10. But we're having an issue that most of the clubs are having, which is we don't have a lack of, or we do have a lack of a strategy, direction, but we have one of the biggest fan bases in Spanish football. What we saw last June when we promoted to La Liga, not a lot of stadiums can see it, but unfortunately we sold our souls to a big investors who has been in Barcelona once in the last 4 years or 5 years, and he has somebody running the club, and he's the main shareholder, and if he doesn't want to sell because he's not making any money, he's not going to sell the club, and we will need to navigate through this uncertainty. And it's a pity because the fan base is outstanding. Espanyol fan base is incredible. It's such an amazing club. But I'm telling you again, I would sign now to be 17th.
And one last question as an Espanyol fan. Do you ever or are you always supporting the team that is playing against Barcelona?
That's a very good one. 20 years ago, I would say yes. Actually, I'm going to say something that is politically incorrect, but my father supports a team that does not exist, which is the anti FC Barcelona. He doesn't like FC Barcelona at all.
Mm.
I used to be a little bit like that. Now, to be honest, I don't care much. I have to admit that when Barcelona play good football under Pep, I used to enjoy, and I went to watch live games because it was an absolute joy. Now, if Barcelona, I don't know, reaches the Copa del Rey final against Athletic de Bilbao, I absolutely don't care about it.
Okay.
I don't know. I guess I'm
Maturing as well.
maturing or getting old. I don't know how do you want to call it.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
Yeah,
Thanks, Antonio, for sharing your memories
no
from years
problem.
gone by, and of course, your thoughts on the upcoming season in La Liga. All the best to Espanyol, even though this
Thank
is
you.
a Barcelona episode, but all the best. Segue to Espanyol, all the best to them. And we'll
Yes,
see how Barcelona transpires this season. It'll be exciting, I believe.
I think we're gonna see good things. Come on, we're talking about a very strict, meticulous, pragmatic German coach that already proved success at Bayern. So
Yeah.
I hope we can see a good La Liga. And again, we not only talking about Real Madrid or Barcelona. We need, why not, one or two other teams. Atletico Madrid is looking good. Let's see.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
true as well. Yeah, they've just
cool,
signed Julian Alvarez.
correcto.
Yeah, so let's see how they do. And
Let's see.
I agree with you. I think in modern football, a lot of times we get to see across all the leagues. A lot of leagues in Europe, you see one team dominating, not just for one season, for season after season. It becomes
Mm,
very dull and monotonous and robotic. It feels a bit
yeah.
robotic. You
No,
kind of know what's going to happen.
we need once in a
Yeah.
while, like a little bit of like a new talent going in.
Yeah, true. That is true.
Okay.
So let's see. Hopefully, this is the season for
I,
the so-called underdogs all across Europe, except
Espanol,
Italy.
Espanol maybe.
Yeah, maybe. All
Okay.
right. Cheers.
Thank
And this
you.
is us
Cheers.
signing
Bye
out.
bye.
Peace.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye.